After more than 3 decades, the Menendez case is back in the spotlight, and new information has sparked a fresh wave of debate across the internet. Welcome back, everyone. Today we are digging into the history, controversy, and recent discussions surrounding Lyle and Erik Menendez. For those who remember the early 90s, this was one of the most publicized trials in American history. But for a new generation, it is a complex puzzle of trauma, family secrets, and the evolving nature of justice. We are going to explore why this case has resurfaced now, and examine the documents that legal teams claim could change everything. But here is the critical question we need to ask. Does this new information actually alter the legal reality? Or does it simply change how we feel about the story? By the end of this video, you will understand the details of the new evidence that has everyone talking and why experts remain divided on what it all means. Let's start by setting the scene to understand why this story gripped the nation so tightly. In 1989, the Menendez brothers, Lyle and Erik, were living in Beverly Hills, surrounded by wealth, privilege, and seemingly endless opportunity. Their parents, José and Kitty Menendez, were prominent figures in the entertainment and corporate world. From the outside looking in, they appeared to be the perfect American family. However, that image was shattered in August of that year, when police arrived at their home to find a tragic and violent scene. Initially, the brothers were not considered suspects, but as investigators looked closer at their behavior and spending habits in the weeks that followed, the focus shifted. This eventually led to their arrest, and the beginning of a legal saga that would play out on television screens around the world. But here's where things get even more complicated regarding the public perception. During the first trial, which was broadcast on Court TV, the nation became polarized. On one side, prosecutors argued that the brothers were motivated by pure greed, driven by a desire to inherit their parents' multi-million-dollar estate. They painted a picture of two privileged young men who wanted financial freedom without parental control. On the other side, the defense team presented a radically different narrative. They alleged that the brothers had endured years of severe emotional and physical abuse at the hands of their father, with their mother allegedly enabling the behavior. The defense argued that the brothers acted out of fear, believing their own lives were in danger. Think about that for a moment. Two completely different stories, describing the exact same family. This clash of narratives resulted in 2 deadlocked juries, meaning they could not agree on a verdict. It was a stunning outcome that suggested the case was far from black and white. However, the second trial was very different. Most viewers don't know the story behind this shift. In the second trial, the judge limited much of the testimony regarding the alleged abuse, ruling that it was not relevant to the specific legal charges of murder. Without the full context of their family dynamics, the jury in the second trial convicted both brothers, and they were sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. For decades, that seemed to be the end of the story. The legal doors were closed, and the brothers remained in custody, maintaining their version of events. But recently, the conversation has reopened, driven by what supporters and legal teams are calling new evidence. This next detail changed how many people saw the case, and it centers on a piece of paper that was allegedly lost to history for years. According to public reporting and recent legal filings, a letter was discovered that Erik Menendez reportedly wrote to his cousin, Cano. The legal team claims this letter was written months before the tragedy occurred. In the text, which has been widely shared by media outlets, Erik allegedly describes his fear and the ongoing abuse he was suffering at home. Supporters argue that this letter is critical because it serves as contemporaneous evidence. This means it wasn't a story invented after the arrest to gain sympathy in court, but rather a real-time cry for help written by a teenager who felt trapped. If authenticated, experts suggest this document could challenge the prosecution's original theory that the abuse claims were fabricated solely for the defense strategy. This piece of evidence has become a central pillar in the new movement to have the case re-evaluated. But this is where the story expands beyond just the family. Another piece of information has surfaced involving a former member of the boy band Menudo. In a sworn affidavit, Roy Rosselló has alleged that he too was victimized by José Menendez, who was an executive at the record label RCA at the time. Rosselló claims that this occurred when he was a teenager, describing interactions that mirror the allegations made by Lyle and Erik. While these claims have not been proven in a court of law, media outlets have discussed how this third-party account might establish a pattern of behavior. For many observers, this outside testimony lends credibility to the brothers' long-standing claims, suggesting that the dynamic they described at home was not an isolated fiction, but potentially part of a broader pattern involving their father. Here's the surprising part about how this information is being received. In the 1990s, the cultural understanding of trauma, particularly male victims of abuse, was vastly different than it is today. Back then, the brothers were often mocked by late-night comedians, and their testimony was viewed with deep skepticism. Many people found it hard to believe that wealthy, athletic young men could be victims. Today, however, society has a much more nuanced understanding of power dynamics and psychological trauma. This cultural shift has led to a massive resurgence of interest in the case, particularly on platforms like TikTok. Younger generations are reviewing the old court footage and the new evidence, and many are coming to a different conclusion than the juries did 30 years ago. They are viewing the brothers not just as perpetrators, but as survivors who felt they had no other option. However, we must remain objective and look at the legal hurdles. Despite the public outcry and the millions of views on social media, the legal system operates on strict rules regarding evidence and appeals. Prosecutors and legal experts have debated whether this new evidence meets the high threshold required to overturn a conviction or grant a new trial. The district attorney's office has stated they are reviewing the new information, but they have also emphasized that they must follow the law and review the facts impartially. Just because the public opinion has shifted does not automatically mean the legal verdict will change. There are still those who argue that the severity of the crime, the loss of 2 lives, warrants the original sentence regardless of the background circumstances. It is a tension between the rigid letter of the law and the evolving spirit of justice. And this detail sparked a heated debate among experts regarding the concept of imperfect self-defense. This is a legal term that refers to a situation where a defendant honestly, but unreasonably, believed they were in imminent danger. If the juries in the second trial had been allowed to fully consider the abuse allegations, some legal scholars argue the verdict might have been manslaughter rather than murder. This would have carried a significantly shorter sentence. The new evidence is essentially being used to argue that the brothers should have been convicted of this lesser charge. And since they have already served over 30 years, advocates argue they should be released for time served. This isn't about saying they are innocent of the act, but rather that the punishment does not fit the context of the crime. For many people, the Menendez story is not just a legal case, but a deeply emotional question about family, trauma, and justice. It forces us to ask uncomfortable questions. Can we hold two truths at once? Can someone be guilty of a terrible crime and also be a victim of terrible circumstances? The renewed attention has also brought support from unexpected places. Family members of the brothers, including the sister of the victims, have publicly spoken out in support of Lyle and Erik. They have participated in press conferences and documentaries, urging the justice system to look at the new evidence with an open mind. When the victim's own family advocates for the release of the perpetrators, it adds a layer of moral complexity that is very rare in criminal cases. But here is a perspective that is often overlooked. The new evidence isn't just about documents, it is about the evolution of corroboration. In the original trials, much was made about the lack of physical proof of abuse. But experts in psychology often note that abuse, by its nature, rarely leaves a paper trail. It happens behind closed doors. The discovery of the letter to the cousin and the testimony of a third party provides the kind of external validation that was missing decades ago. Whether a judge finds it admissible or sufficient is one thing, but in the court of public opinion, these details have filled in the gaps that made the original verdict feel incomplete to so many people. As we look at the current status, the Los Angeles District Attorney is actively reviewing the habeas corpus petition filed by the brothers' lawyers. This review process is slow, and it is methodical. There is no guarantee of a specific outcome. The brothers could be granted a new trial, they could be resentenced, or their petition could be denied entirely, leaving them exactly where they are. But regardless of the legal ruling, the cultural verdict seems to be shifting. Documentaries, dramatized series, and podcasts are all re-examining the narrative, moving away from the greedy rich kids trope and toward a tragic story of a family implosion. Most people never realize this, but the Menendez case actually changed how courtrooms operate. It was one of the first trials to be televised so extensively, turning justice into entertainment. Now, 3 decades later, it is the audience that is driving the demand for a second look. It is a unique feedback loop where public sentiment, fueled by new information, is putting pressure on the judicial system to reconsider a closed chapter. It highlights the power of media and the persistence of memory. Whether the new evidence changes anything legally remains to be seen. But one thing is clear: the Menendez case continues to challenge the public's understanding of truth, trauma, and justice. It reminds us that sometimes the full story takes decades to come to light. As we wait for the legal system to make its next move, the conversation continues. If you appreciate responsible deep dives into complex stories, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We will be sure to update you as this story develops. Thank you for watching.